It's still August 25th. So I got fired today. It's like, okay. Not literally fired, but fired by a client. And I mentioned before that it's happened once before. And I happened to share that the parent who had fired me before, this was early in my line of work when I decided, I jumped into doing therapy as an intensive program. She fired me. But she had fired everybody else. And it was clear that she was on one side of the spectrum in terms of extreme symptoms, and we weren't even treating her, but we had to indirectly because we were trying to work with her son. And I remember the moment she fired me, I was like, okay, when people fire you, they fire you, right? I'm not gonna put up a fight. And there was an awareness. I'm like, okay, it's not just me, right? And then it got to the point where I was just kind of allowing them. I'm just like, you're just gonna do what you're gonna do. That's just how you roll. So that was the last time that I got fired. So to get fired again today, I was like, okay. So I'm listening to my client, and this, some of my clients email me. They email me things during the week, and I encourage it, right? Because they're processing stuff, and sometimes they reflect back on the session and as a way to not forget, right? I don't mind, and we set certain parameters with some versus others. Some like it when I respond, others prefer that I don't, so I don't. And then somewhere in the middle, right? She had extreme trauma, has extreme trauma. And I remember wondering at the beginning, can I even work with her? I'm not sure if I can help her. But there's always the encouragement, with supervisors, like, just try it and see what happens. And I was very transparent with her from the beginning as to what my level of expertise was. I told her, you are smarter than me. You know a lot more than I do. I'm somewhere in the middle. But somehow in her mind, she made it seem like I was the best thing. Expectations, right? So she starts sharing her trauma narrative, and I'm just listening because, one of her biggest things was that people weren't listening and instead intruded, never gave her the opportunity to tell her story. So I made a note to not interrupt her, to just listen to her, right? To believe her when she says certain things. And it's so fascinating for me when I see people not trust themselves. They have the answers. She has the answers. She's just not trusting herself. And it makes sense, right? How can you trust yourself when for most of your life, people have made you feel this small, made you question, doubt yourself, right? So you're constantly checking, double checking every step that you make, every response that you do, and so it makes sense. But it didn't dawn on me that I went to the other extreme with her until she emailed me. I was like, oh snap. I didn't do the extreme, minimizing, but the other extreme is where I'm just accepting her unconditionally. Like, this is who you are. Okay, this is who you are. But that was just as triggering. So I realized that, and I was like, okay, Yubi, reflection, right? Somewhere in the middle. But apparently, this is the first time that she brings it to my attention. So I was grateful. I was like, okay, we're going to, address it and move forward. But then it just didn't turn out that way. And so I reminded her, I said, this is the first time you're bringing it to my attention, so we can work on it. No, that, I should have known. I was like, But you didn't say anything before. Well, didn't, my behavior show you this? And I said, you were going through a lot during those other sessions, and it seemed like you just needed to physically recover. So when you wanted to end the session, sure, you know yourself best in terms of how you recover. And if you felt like you were done, then you were done, right? I'm not going to keep probing at you. And no, I'm not. If you're telling me you're done, you're done. And I'm going to respect that, right? Versus other people who disregard you, things of that sort. So anyways, so she's providing great feedback for me, and I'm taking it in, and, I'm apologizing that, it came across that way. That was never my intention. And she realized that it wasn't my intention. But then she was just too triggered. And she's just like, nope, I feel like I was abandoned and I don't want to continue. I said, oh, because I asked her, what are you needing at the end? She's like, I don't want to continue. I said, that's fine. It's your choice. Do you need any numbers? No, I'll be fine. I said, okay. You have my email. I won't be emailing. Okay, not a problem. And so then she said, you said you were a good therapist. And then I'm trying to remember. I'm like, I never say that I'm a good therapist. I say that I know enough to do my job well is what my usual statement is, because I'm very honest about what I know and what I don't know. I'm not fluent enough in any therapeutic model to say I'm an expert. I've never claimed to be an expert. And so I was kind of taken back by where she thought I might have said that, and then I wondered, like, maybe I did say it. Although that's not my style, I'm very transparent about what I know and what I don't know. So I think she must have believed that I was a good therapist. And she did. I remember her saying that several times. And I just say, thank you. But then she says, you're not the worst. And I'm laughing about it now. It's just, I've had a lot, and she has, like, numerous failed therapeutic relationships, from her words, right? Not mine. And she's like, you're not the worst. I'd say you're somewhere in the middle. I was like, oh, okay. And we said our goodbyes, and that was it. But I was sitting with it for a little bit, just, sitting with myself and regulating myself, because of course, when there's an altercation or confrontation, I get flustered. So I'm like, okay, taking in the information, the feedback, Yubi. It's a good lesson. It's a good lesson, right? And I shared that with her. I said, when we trigger one another, that's part of the process. And we all mirror each other to a certain degree. And that's how we learn. We take what we need, make adjustments, and we keep growing. But it's just interesting to hear say that I suck. my words. That I suck, but I suck somewhere in the middle. And that felt good. I could take that. I totally could. Just as and it's funny because in a lot of my presentations, I put their level of expertise, and I write in there somewhere in the middle. I'm somewhere in the middle. Clearly, right? For her, it's something more specialized. For extreme cases, that's not my level of expertise. I'm somewhere in the middle, right? I get along with mostly everybody because that's my purpose, is to my focus is really more for those in the middle, somewhere in the middle. And those who are on the outskirts, who can take a little bit from it, great. And if they can't, that's fine too. I get that. I understand that, but I just thought that was so wild to get categorized as sucking somewhere in the middle as a therapist. So I was like, okay, I'll accept that. Totally accept it. Because I know I do, right? And I'm laughing at myself. I'm laughing at myself at how I can turn this around, right? The old me, I would have had a hard time overcoming this, right? Getting over this experience. And I've never been one. Well, with that one client, I just knew it's her. It's her. And in this particular case, she was telling me, it's you, it's you. I was like, yeah, okay, it's me. When it's really both of us, right? An interaction requires two people. And so however that interaction unfolds, right? It's because of the two people. It's never just because of one. Because it's an exchange of information. It's an exchange of energy. It's an exchange of energy and emotional experience. Right? Yeah. So anyways, just sitting with that. Learning, right? Learning from it. Reflecting on it. Okay, we move on. I'm sure it'll pop up again. But it was interesting that the last time that happened, it was at the beginning of my journey. And now that this is happening again, I wonder if it's a sign, right? Because cycles repeat. They just repeat differently or on the other extreme at different times in my life. And I wonder if this is a sign that I'm coming to the end of this type of therapy experience, right? Like the cycle coming full circle. Yeah, I wonder if that's what that is. Yeah. Okay. I might go for a walk. No, I'm gonna call a client right now. The next client. And then go for a walk. Then come back and keep working. Finish up. And just keep moving forward. That's all you can do. Alright. I just realized she wasn't gonna settle. That's what I realized. My client, she wasn't gonna settle. Good for her. Good for her. I hope the next person that she gets is the therapist. Is her one, right? She's been in search for the one. That's what I was realizing right now. I was like, she's not settling. She's not settling for mediocre, right? She's not settling. That's good. I'm glad. I'm glad. She shouldn't have to settle. I'm glad she saw that. And I'm glad she's still looking, you know? That's what I realized. Good for her. That's good. That's good. You know what I realized too? This concept of settling and not settling, right? That it's not this matter of looking for the best. Let me reword that. It's an ongoing experience for oneself. To taste what is at your level in that moment. Because each experience nudges you to the next experience, right? The next cycle, the next extreme. And it goes back to that concept that every person you meet is the one for you. They are the one in that moment. Until you realize, no, not anymore, right? It was good until it lasted. But now it's time to shift, to move on. Until you find someone at your vibration. And that person will be at your vibration until they're not. And then you keep, adjusting. You keep adjusting, you keep adjusting. And then you'll find someone, right, who's willing to work at it. Because I was even thinking about it too. I was just reflecting on our conversation and how I was kind of shocked because, the impression that I was getting every week was such until she brought it to my attention. And then I let her know. I'm like, well, you didn't bring it to my attention before. So I'm grateful that you did now. And there was that same feeling of like, but you should have known. And it reminded me of this last fire sign. And how I had told him, I had expressed to him how important these videos were and how that triggered me. Because it was a similar experience, right? I wasn't being seen, I wasn't hurt, just as she wasn't. Hers was just on a different spectrum. On the range of intensity was on one range of the extreme side of it, of not being seen, not being heard. And how I got triggered, that it reminded me of how I got triggered with this fire sign. This recent fire sign. And then how I was being, how I pulled back. It was a similar thing, you go in and then something doesn't feel right and you pull back. She felt that's why she brought it up. And how I felt that within me with this fire sign, and that's why I pulled back. Only that I came back, and I said, and then I explained, this is why. I ran away, but I came back, and I remembered our agreements. And this is why I was triggered. And it was my trigger, and I realized it. But one of our agreements was that we were going to talk about stuff, as difficult as it would be. We agreed to that, and that's why I'm coming back and letting you know. And then that's when he shared back, like, indirectly speaking, right, that he got triggered by my response too, and the choice that he made after that. And then just what his plans were this summer, and how he does want to get to know me, but that there was going to be a lot of stuff in his way, in his mind, right, being preoccupied. But that's what it reminded me of when I was reflecting on this client a little bit more, and I was like, she's not settling, right, for mediocre. She's not settling for mediocre. And I was happy. I smiled once I realized. I was like, she's not settling. Good for her. She's gone through enough. She knows her worth. She knows what she's needing and what she's not. She's working at it, like we all are. That's all we can do, is keep getting better, right? Keep being more aware and shifting and making changes. So anyway, I just wanted to add that. Okay.
Hey you, my name is Yubi and I use she, they pronouns, and you've just finished watching a clip from my video diary entries where I'm documenting my healing journey as I learn how to navigate my spiritual awakening. I have learned that this experience and process is unique to each and every one of us in whatever way we are embracing living our truth. This just happens to be my journey. And despite me having a graduate degree and a license in clinical social work, this by no means is intended to replace any type of formal mental health advice. This is just me on a personal level, shedding light on the truth that I am learning and discovering for myself as these experiences unfold, and really inviting you along for the ride. Please know that there is a time gap between when these videos post and my real timeline, and also that these clips build upon each other similar to chapters in a book. So if you find yourself lost or confused, feel free to click on the playlist section or the link below, where you can jump around, check out the other chapters, and or catch up. Also, please know that you're more than welcome to check out my website, www.youbecominghealed.com, where I've gathered all of this information, my background, experience, and education to create online self-paced courses to help you on your healing journey wherever you are. You're also more than welcome to check out my other YouTube channel at You Becoming Healed, where I've entertained a podcast, including clips from these courses so that I can make this content accessible to more and more people. Please click like, subscribe, and share this content so again it reaches more people, with the hopes that other people will resonate and connect with the healing journey and the stories shared so that they don't feel alone in their own process. I thank you in advance. I'm grateful to you, and I wish you well.